Well, for the next 3 hours, we'll be covering email marketing. It's going to be riveting, so buckle on in. My name is Micah. I'm with Golf Space Collective. Led many of these sessions about emails and member services and other things. Before we get started, quick show of hands. Anyone in the room with a title that has marketing? Member in your title. Membership. And everyone else. Perfect. Okay, cool. So, we might be flying high over some of you, but what I want you to do is at the end, we're going to cover a bunch of things. Q&A, this is going to be a little bit more advanced. The title there, so if I skip things, if things go over your head, at the end we can hit that. But really want to kind of jump into a couple of things here today. So, like any good presentation, we're going to start with stats. Without this, it doesn't really matter, right? So, before we get started, before we jump into anything else here, in your orgs, in any company's org, the main point of email is to convert. Your clients have given you the permission to speak to them. They've signed up. You are allowed to do this. So it is meant to create awareness, create conversions, and you can directly do this with them by email. So we need to all keep that in mind as we talk through this here. So these aren't my feelings. These are other people that are much more smarter than I am. So a couple things right off the top as we get jumping in here. Personalizing your emails is huge. Again, this is not my opinion on it. Your people are they are more likely to open emails that are personalized, and that's 26% more likely to make that happen. We'll jump into the next one here. So, breaking down your email lists. All of us in this room are signed up for multiple different services and Amazon and everything else. You get blanket emails, but you also get highly personalized emails to what you do, what you touch, what you do on the websites that you go to. They are personalized to the actions that you take. If you take a blanket email approach of just one and done every single time, it's so broad. I always say you're fishing in the ocean with a pole, right? You're just dropping in and going. You don't have the big net. You're not bringing people in. You are 760% more likely to generate revenue the more personalized you get in your emails. You say revenue, that could be tournament signups, that could be memberships. Throw your spin on it, that's what we have there. Moral of the story here is talk to people the way that they want to be talked to, right? We got to get personalized in how we do things. You're just broad as miss tomorrow. Automated emails, this is what I'll beat today here. You are 320% more likely to generate revenue if you have an email automation going. This is because we are all human beings that cannot punch send to a person as fast as your computer can do it in the background. And it's never going to be personalized enough to do that as a human individual. We're all going to build them, but we're not going to sit at a desk and just click send 1,000 times, right? We need to have the automations running. And again, if you scroll to your phone right now, the last 10 emails you got in the hour are most likely an email automation that has been sent to you. So this is the groundwork for what we'll cover here today. And you're going to see this beautiful picture for the next 6 slides because I just couldn't take my eyes off it. So let's jump in. We need to segment our email lists at the biggest depth that we can. I'm not going to get into email specifics, HubSpot, MailChimp, X, Y, and Z. I don't care what you're on, they're all capable of doing this. We need to tag, leverage, categorize these people. I have a couple different examples here. Yes, you should have a newsletter list. It should be one of your lists. You should have an active tournament player list. Men's, women's, seniors, juniors. Those are 4 different lists now. We should have people who have lapsed in memberships, people who are active in memberships. We should, again, this is advanced, so we're going to go down the rabbit hole here. 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. How long have they been members? Let's make sure we're tracking that and looking at that, because a 10-year member, we can send them things different than a 1-year member or a 5-month member, right? It's a very different journey as we're talking about. Really easy way to start doing this. We're not going to overcomplicate this part of the process. Just start doing it. It's super, super simple. Just start labeling your people. Start small. We don't got to go to Everest on the first pass. We just got to get going. Start with tournament play, breaking that down. It's super candid. It's going to take a lot of time. You don't just start tagging people in your system and get this all on day one. You got to build toward it, but you got to start somewhere. What this is going to allow you to do, if I don't play in tournament golf, I don't really care about getting tournament golf emails, right? And for a majority of your membership, 10 to 20% of your people play in tournaments, the other 80% don't. They might want to, but I don't want to get the tournament results every week in my email, right? Because I don't do it. In the newsletter, sure, we can talk about it there, but not individually to me in a broad email. Start breaking it down, and I would really encourage you to start communicating with the lists that you guys build in that form and fashion there. Because in corporate America, like I'll just keep saying this the whole time, if you go look at your email boxes, this literally happens to all of us, and we're suckers for buying, right? Or at least my wife is on Amazon. So without a plan, you have nothing. So the first thing is, let's start at least knowing who we're talking to, how we're talking to them. It could be very simple, or you could have all the data in the world, but we got to get that in like a nice shell first. Next thing is, how are we actually going to talk to what are we saying to these people now, right? Again, I just use the example of tournament coverage. I'll use the other example of, if you're a brand new member and I got a 10-year member, they kind of know the deal, right? They've been around the block, they know the stuff that you've been sending out. The guy that just came in the door 5 minutes ago who signed up, zero clue. It might be his first time joining, right? He could, in a perfect world, be a private member who doesn't even know what he's getting into or she's getting into, right? Like, hey, I just joined my club. Part of my dues is a gym. Like, I have no idea what I'm in now, right? I have no clue. We got to educate them on how to do that. That is a whole different content plan for those people and those kind of that segment of people there. Biggest thing I would encourage you to do, and we tell this to all of our clients, for the marketing titles in this room, marketing shouldn't just look good, it needs to do something. If it's just checking the box and looking pretty, that's awesome. If it's not generating revenue, bringing in sales, and doing something else, kind of missed the mark, right? It's replaceable in that moment, and we don't want that. We need to create a content map. And again, we're talking advanced here, so we're not going to go down at the lower levels. It needs to be specific to every type of person that's in your club. And I'm not saying active and inactive members. I'm saying, like, if they're active, how active are they? Are they playing in 5+ tournaments? Are they in 10+ tournaments? Are they not playing in tournaments? It's probably a better thing to talk about. And how do we get them, or candidly, how do we not get them, but retain them as a member if there's no interest in competitive play, right? How do we talk to them up very clearly about these things? Second thing I'll mention here is, as the screen goes dead, we need to tie in our association goals to our comm plan. If we're just saying, hey, this email looks good, we want to send this up, it's cool and it sounds great, again, awesome. But at the end of the year, when we're saying, here's what we did on our great yearly recap that we do, how did it affect the org as a whole, right? What did we contribute as marketing, or what did our email do that drove us forward? Again, I'll say it. If it looks great, awesome. It's got to do something. You've got to have the engine behind it to kick it forward and make it worthwhile. We highly recommend a content calendar. Because I'll tell you right now, we work with many of you in this room here. Once tournament season kicks off, goodbye, right? Like, we are in a whole different world in that moment. If you don't have a plan going in there, you're just in a spiral at that point. It's so hard to come out of it to get your plan together. If it's your off season right now, 2025 plan should be on the table. Here's how many times we're sending emails out. Here's the months we're doing it. Here's what we're going to talk about in those months. The first month of the year, we always say the first official day of golf is the Masters tournament. It's kind of like everyone's start, right? Unless you live in Florida, it's just all day long. If we're not getting that ready before then and then kind of doing that once golf starts, we're already behind the 8 ball. Because you're just trying to play catch up now. To a very engaged audience who's already ahead of you, like, I want golf, but we're already behind them now. So we have to have a content calendar to align with the golf seasons, the initiatives that we're doing, and candidly, your golf association's premier or big events that you do, right? If there's 4 or 5 big events like yearly, the content calendar that we have should have a portion of that that's dedicated to address those things. Key email, automations, customer journeys, workflows, there's about 1 billion names for these things now. Just depends on whatever you use. Show of hands in the room who currently has email journeys going. Everyone else in the room, the first thing you do when you get home, you sit down. If you're the marketing person or you don't, you spend 2 days, you don't touch it for the rest of the year. Just dedicate 48 hours to doing it. It's the best time you'll ever spend on that in your whole life. We're talking about new member welcome workflows should be your #1 thing that gets done out of the gate. If you don't have one of these running, it'd be like joining a gym and not knowing where the locker rooms are, you never got the tour, you have 0 clue what's going on. You gotta think of it just like that. When your people run in the front door and sign up, if they don't know what's going on, no one's gonna tell them, right? They came to you to buy. If you're not telling them what to do next, they're not gonna get it from anywhere else because you're the source for that. We often run this, Mr. David Bergeron is here, member win backs. We do this with Texas. I'm sure a lot of you do this here too. When your members go inactive, if you're not going to ask them to join, who's going to ask them to join, right? These are golfers. These are people that have a billion other things going on. They don't mark it on their calendar and say, like, hey, I got to renew my gym today, or I got to sign up here again, right? It's not going to happen unless you push it out the door and it happens on their schedule. Again, people are people. We don't have enough time to make this happen. Let the computers do it. We just got to build it on the front end. You're also going to lose, and I'll be super candid here, if you don't have a member win back going, your churn rate is probably a lot higher than you think it is right now. You might have a rough figure that's in mind in your head, but again, if we're going to hope that someone signs up because they liked what they did, and again, these are the non-competitive players. If they're not playing tournaments, what value was created for them through the course of that year to make them want to sign up again? If you're not telling them that or showing them that or talking about that, again, we are the salespeople here. Email is the way that we do that. That message doesn't go out. The consumer is not going to react to it. Email automations allow us to do that. This is literally the one thing that whoever didn't raise your hand, this is your first homework assignment when you guys get back home. It's just got it. It's got to be done. We'll get in the weeds here just a touch. So, candidly, we need to work with your tech team, or you need to work with your tech team. These are kind of like nitty-gritty things. So, security and DMARC and DKIM. What these allow you to do is essentially, I'm going to go in the weeds here a touch. When you're sending out emails from Southern California Golf, it's coming out. If you're on MailChimp gives you a dummy email that gets sent from. It doesn't really come from your email. It comes from a MailChimp generator or a HubSpot one. But we want it to come from yours. So your tech team in their domain settings is going to have a way to make that happen, which is going to boost your credibility. It's going to boost your ability, like your very clear ability to be able to communicate with people from your actual email. Biggest thing here is, think about it like this. When you send an email out through MailChimp, everyone else is going to be using that same sender thing. So when he sends it out, when you send it out, it's going from the same MailChimp source to the end client. I want to own how my people get that from my own settings. This boosts your open rates. It boosts your ability to get emails in inboxes that aren't marked as spam. So it's going to help a lot. This flies over my head quite a bit. I just know it needs to be done. We recommended our clients do it. If you have a tech team, you're just going to give them the slides and say, we need to do this. Thank you very much. Super, super easy here, though. Let's talk content, emails, call to actions. Everyone have a website? Perfect. If your emails don't look like your website, problem. And we all do this, in the buyer's mind, there's a process called the customer journey. The first time I touch your brand, it's probably going to be on your website or social media. If the next 4 to 5 steps don't resemble that, I throw a flag in the back of my head saying something didn't add up in this process and it stops you just a half second. If your emails don't resemble your site in some form or shape or have the same look and feel to it, in the buyer's eyes or in your member's eyes, they're saying, I signed up on a site that looks like X, but I'm getting comms from a thing that looks like Y, and there's no crossover here. They're very likely to not engage with those emails until they realize, oh, this is what I'm getting this from, or here's how this works now. Take this one step further. Your mobile phone, this guy here, this is your first filter for emails. When you send an email out, 80% of people will hit that here. They're going to look at their phone, they're going to see the subject line, they're going to see the preview. If you make it past that, which you usually do, you're then going to get the scroll of death. So if your email is freaking as long as this thing, on desktop, on mobile, it's 3 times longer now, right? So I'm willing to bet no one in this room sits at their phone and goes more than 5 times, right? Like, it's just not going to happen. There's too many words, there's too many pictures, it's gone. That email is useless now. Trash, gone, done, your engagement rate's focus on it. You have to build emails in a way where they are mobile friendly first, but good on the desktop units as well. Because that's the first filter. The next thing I'll talk about is the use of great content. We got grainy pictures or clip art or the dude with the left-handed club with the right-handed swing. Those are our flags, right? Like, I would rather have you not use a picture if we have that, right? Like, put the best foot forward so we can make that stuff happen. We all have local courses. They have billions of pictures and stuff that goes on. It's simple email to ask, usually does the job. You can leverage that. Tournaments, events. We also, and again, this will all tie back to the main slides. Tournaments are going out the door. We want that to be dialed and very appropriate in what we're trying to say and what that looks like to that audience so that they interact with it and do it well. But also, if we're talking about tournaments to a large audience, we probably have to simplify that, right? We got to make it more easy to get into and learn about. You don't want to tell them about the whole tournament in the email. It's getting the site to do that. We got to hit them with a couple quick things and there. Call to action buttons. This is a huge one too. Shouldn't it be 6 sentences or 3 sentences? It's like 3, 4 words maybe, right? Like, the goal of this is they read a little bit and they're like, I'm in. Click, gone, I'm to the site, I'm all about this, or this isn't for me. I know that seems weird to say. I'd rather have someone say yes or no in an email versus like wishy-washy because I didn't do a good enough job in telling them what they needed to do or not do and pick that audience, right? I want a decision to be made. I need that button to do that, and I need my text around that to make that happen. Yeses and nos are great. It's the maybes that I'm not a huge fan of because you never really know what this person does or doesn't want to do, which then leads to which list I put them on, right? If I can never get them to do something that's very clear, they kind of just bounce around a bunch of different lists there. This is a cool one too. HTML emails and preview texts and plain texts. So most email systems that you all are probably on, you're all good here. You just gotta click a little button and it does it for you. In the email world, You get the briefing that you guys build, you do it in the builder, and it goes out the door. The other side of the house, though, is you have the ability to monitor and alter the plain text area of that email, which almost acts as a SEO type thing for emails. We don't want to put like free giveaways and different things on the emails because that's just going to trash it, spam it. We're done there. When I make the email, if there's a bunch of writing on it, I want to sync that to the plain text area, but I also maybe want to touch and modify just a couple of things there. I might want to shorten it, I might want to make it longer. This is also big for people with disabilities. If you have someone that can't read your email, their email providers are going to pop open a thing that's going to produce that in a very different manner. So this is big here too. Google loves that. It's very, very compliant. So we're good to go there. HTML emails too. A lot of you are in like your traditional builders, which are great. They'll do the job 98% of the time. This is the advanced class, so we got to touch on it just to say it. If you can do HTML emails, you will win. There are plenty of tools that will do this. They don't operate currently inside of your tool that you have today. This would be a separate builder, would give you code, you launch that into your sender now, and now you have full control over how you want these to look and feel, and you can really dial in your brand at this level. Again, going on record and on the camera back there, what you have probably does the job just fine. If you want to get spicy here, HTML is the way to make that happen. And again, it wouldn't be a marketing presentation without more stats. So let's hit a couple things here before we get into the latter part of some questions. So some key things here. These are from our beautiful friends at HubSpot. Like I said at the start of the call, email marketing, in my mind, that operates as the salesperson of your org, right? That's the ability to generate things and make things happen. For every dollar spent, email has the ability to generate $36 on the email marketing side of the house. That's if you do it right? And again, that's a broad number. Let's dial it down for our numbers here, but you get the idea that I'm trying to make. Email is also not going away, so we got to get better at it. 4 billion people are using this every single day. Not a surprise, because my inbox is littered with them. 4.6 in 2025. I put this on here for the sheer reason of if you're leveraging email marketing today, which I'm guessing 100% of you are, the benchmark has just gone up and it will continue to go up. Every single year it's going to go up. How are you at least pacing it or outpacing it to make that happen, right? There's 1 billion people that are trying to get your people's times and crowd their inbox. How are you keeping up with that? One huge thing we'll touch on here too. Businesses, 86% of the people, they want their preferred com from email. Again, take that 4.6, 86% of them want emails. That's 1,000 emails in your inbox that are just a little red icon on your phone, right? It's a lot of email that gets sent every day. That's why when we talk about having a good subject line or sending at the right times of the day, and sending at appropriate days of the week, this is where this becomes vital. If you don't do that, you're not just one of the many. You end up in the trash can and spam folder, and you got to resend it and get it back in the mix, and it's a bit of a pain, right? One other thing that we'll mention on here, I talked about this earlier, I cannot stress this enough. If you can segment your campaigns, you have the ability to generate 760% more revenue than a non-segmented. And I don't want to just tie that to revenue. I also want you guys to think of it in a sense of that's potentially tournament signups. That's people referring their friends to join. That's golfers getting involved, right? I say this because this is the bucket for all the sales channels that you guys have. So when I say revenue in your company, you think of all the things that can generate revenue, and that's where this number comes into play. You could have 2, you could have 6, you could have 10. We just need to make sure that we're talking to people the way that they want to be talked to when they want to be talked to like that. That's the most important thing that we'll take from here today. Let's pause for questions real quick since I just did the lecture and TED Talk and I feel like my college professor and I get that. And then we'll jump into this here. Questions off the bat from the room. Feedback, thoughts. Sir.
I guess like from the starting point of segmenting your list, you know, it's easy to just think of tournament and non-tournament members, but what would you see as the most important first ones to focus on beyond tournament versus non-tournament?
That's a great question. Biggest thing in my eyes, and again, if I'm in your shoes, I want to know how active or involved someone is. So I want to see the length of time they've been with me, right? Because now I can make business decisions based off of if their first year, I want to monitor that and make sure I get them to year 2, right? Like, how do we get them year over year? If you're 5+ years, you're good. Like, I pretty much got you, right? Like, you're in the door, I'm all set. But for each of your golf associations, I think and that's where it ties back to the overall company goals, right? Look at your setup. Hey, after a year, do we get people that come back in? Is there a big enough value statement to make that happen? Or do we candidly need to go back and talk about that? And then look at, okay, well, if we change X, Y, and Z, what's our threshold now? Is it a year? Is it 2? How do we look at taking someone from joining, but now making them a true member, right? I think of, let's just keep it in golf. You join a semi-private club. My goal as that club owner is to have you sign up every single year, right? I'm semi-private though, so you can kill it at the end of the year and you can go trunk slam somewhere else next year, right? Because you got like a good deal. I don't want you to do that though. I got to make my value prop good enough and get you in the door and stuck where you're like, I don't want to go anywhere. But if I don't know how to talk to you about that, I can't get that email out the door, right? Or I can't have that discussion with you. Again, like Ricky said, at a club show, there's 200 members for your sake. No, because you have 10,000, 20,000, 50,000 plus. You can't do that with everyone, right? So you got to get those. How long have you been around and how engaged are you? So I can make sure I get really sticky. Because there's nothing worse than growing with a high churn rate, right? Because you're just keeping it going. You're never just growing, you're just spinning people in and out. And we don't want that. So to answer your question in a super roundabout way, I would look at the stickiness or the length of time that people have been and run those reports and get that info in, because that's going to allow you to then run different reports and tag off of that too. Answer your question?
Yeah. Pretty much. You know, for us being a smaller association, I think we struggled with what's worth our while and what's going to be the most efficient. And is that age groups, you know, different messaging, different audience, male versus female, tournament versus non-tournament. I think you definitely make a good point about ensuring that you keep your members year over year and educate them early and then involve later on. So I'm definitely digesting what you're saying.
And that's just where I would start, right? Because that's going to be like, it's not easy. Again, none of this is easy. You start there, but once you get that data, this stuff gets easier because you're now basing off of events and other things. You just need those couple building blocks to get jammed on, and then you can go from there. It's like building a house, right? You pour the foundation, that's just up. Yes, sir.
Is there a point of diminishing returns with respect to how deep you go into segmentation?
Yeah, for sure.
Is there a rule of thumb that you can sort of give us, so percentage-wise or something like that?
I would say unfortunately not really. I can give you a couple examples around it. So for Dan's thing here, as a baseline, you should probably have how long they've been a member of your board, right? Like I think that's just standard. We probably want how many tournaments they've played in, if we can get that easy, right? Because now that's showing that they've been around for a while and they're really engaged, right? Now I'm looking for a lower level engagement That's like behind the scenes. So they've been here for 5 years, they've been to 100 events. That's really sticky. I'm good there. But now, this is an email marketing. Now we're talking just growth at this point. If I can look at John Smith and he checks boxes 1, 2, 3, 4, he's been around for five years, he's played in a bunch of tournaments, or maybe he hasn't, but he's a good member. How do I go find more Smiths to join? I'm not going to start with a 5-year John Smith. I'm going to start with a year 0 John Smith. But him as a person, he's 55. He lives in this area of my state. He's here. You can make those better business decisions then once you have the front info. And that's ultimately what I would encourage you all to drive to. And that's how we talk about the overall goals of your companies. If we can get aligned with them and get key metrics in place, you can run reports on, hey, is this male, is this female, what's the birthday? You guys have all that through GiA. That's the easiest part. We just have to measure the overall engagement of these people to better inform those business decisions on the back end there. Does that make sense? Sir?
Just curious, we're always looking for non-events-based content, right? That's the big heavy one. What's the balance when you get into that event season? Because you have so many events and you want to hit on,
Yep.
but then you don't want to kind of abandon, your other 90%, as you say, in that middle of the season. So is there too much? I don't know, just curious.
Perfect question. Breaking down your email list protects you from that. It's like a barrier, right? So you know your tournament players because they sign up, right?
Yeah.
So really good case study here. Yeah, it's not easy. There's time. Go into Golf Genius, pull a list of everyone who's played, bring them back into your system, tag them. They played this tournament, they did that. Again, start small. They just played in a tournament, right? We can get granular later. There's their tournament play. Let's tag them. It's from their own new list. I can blast out tournament stuff to them because I know that they want it and they do it, right? Your newsletters, your bigger events, your like premier events, we still want the general public to know that because that's like a pinnacle moment in time. But we don't need we rank events by tiers 1, 2, and 3, right? Or 4, 5, 6, however many you have. A tier 3 event doesn't need to go out the door of the whole place.
Right.
A tier 3 event can go out to your list that's just the tournament folks. But that's where, and again, that's a perfect question. If I was a member of Texas and I'm not playing in like those events, I wouldn't want the emails, right? I may want to know the Texas AM, but like something in Lubbock, I'm good, right? Like I'm all set. But that's just me. You may have 1,000 people who are waiting for that email. That's why it's so critical to break it out so you can better understand those people, because I'm more prone to hit the unsub button if I just get bombed with those versus someone else who wants them, right? And that's where I said up front, everything starts with breaking down those lists so you can better do that. Yes, ma'am.
Is there a number of years where a member is likely to stay? Like, here's where the statistical probability goes up?
Not that I know, but I'm willing to bet if you were to, and it's probably different from org to org, right? So if you were to run membership lifetime, just find like the median and just back up a touch and you put that cutoff there, right? So if the bell curve hits at 7 years, go 4, and you're like, gotta give them the 4 and then I'm in the door, or it's 2 and I'm in the door, right? And I think it would differ for everyone, because you might have some people who are more seasonal, right? You have like Florida, they're going back up north and south. How do they make that happen? Or you get some more transitional states where people move a bunch. There's things to loop in there, but I would say that's looking at your business as a whole and kind of analyzing that would allow that to happen. Yes, sir.
When it comes to email length, 2 questions. One, on the shorter side of things, is there such thing as too short of an email? And on the longer side, is there, I mean, we kind of said, but you don't want to go 5 scrolls down, but is there a set number or industry standard that's to lean on, especially when we're talking to whether it be other departments, other people that don't normally have email working abilities?
You guys have a website, right?
Yeah.
If your emails rival a website page on your thing, no, we're done, right? That's about when it's too long. And Gmail and HubSpot, they'll let, it's called clipped, will pretty much tell you that your email's too long. If you flirt with that, it's got to get back down, way up, right? Like, you don't even want that to hit. Because the odds of someone getting to the bottom of that email, like 0%. Unless they're like diehard, right? They're all in for it. But I would challenge you to think, and again, this is the advanced level, not 101. If I'm getting a clipped message, is that actually a good email? Like, if we were really asking ourselves, like, is it actually like a good email if I'm getting that notification from Gmail saying, like, this is too long? I think I would ask myself internally and say, like, I probably need to modify something, because if Gmail's yelling at me for this, like, we got to dial this back a bunch, right? Like, what's our plan of how we talk and how we structure these things to properly go out the door versus just like, we have 10 things and it's like, whoa, wait. I get that they're all important, but like, does it have to be one email, right? If you have a plan, now it's okay, this hits on Monday, this might hit Wednesday, this might hit Friday, now those emails are tailored. So it's not just one big one, it's much more easy to take in and consume at that level. And for about being too short, sure, if it's like a sentence or two, yeah, probably. But for sometimes if it's updates or if it's quick and easy, I don't mind those. It just can't be in the same format as your long form ones. It's got to look a touch different, more of like a announcement style. I love a short one, right? Like my club does them all the time. It's like, hey, we're underwater, X, Y, and Z. It's done well, and I'm like, great, this is awesome. I don't have to go for a day and I'll let the rain go down. Right? But like things like that are good, because what that does, I always equate emails to credit scores, kind of builds your credibility, right? You're telling someone that they want to know in a very easy fashion, so they're happy, like, got it, good, done, I can delete it and move on. But you did your job and moved that message to them, right? So it's like a little click in their head of like +1, +1, +1, versus big old ones with all that on it, and then we're like, I gotta take a day to read this, like, how am I gonna make that happen now? So that, I would say, ties back to your content plan and strategy. Because we're in the advanced session, I'll beat that thing to death. If we don't have a newsletter template out of the box with dedicated slots on it, you have no boundaries to say this is important or this is not important, right? And that's not an easy discussion to have with some departments, because everything's important to everyone. But as the people running email, we also need to understand that you're the last step before that hits 100,000 inboxes, right? So like, you kind of have to challenge people and say, does this really need to be in this email, or can we wait 2 days and make it its own with maybe 2 other stories in it, right? So I think it's back to the content plan and the template that gets leveraged. And then like the credit score, just the more relevant you can be in an inbox in a quick, easy way, the better it is overall. Anything else? Yes, sir.
Do you have tips for increasing open rates? We're always trying to have people open our emails, and we're just curious if there's like little things that you look for that kind of boost engagement.
Yeah, that's, I would have a couple more questions about seeing in the weeds right out of the gate, but I wouldn't, if I were you, actually want to start with your open rates. There's probably a problem with your engagement rates at that level. So if they're not opening, it's because in the past you haven't given them, and this is, I don't mean this in a critical way, you're just being candid. There's probably not enough juice in your email to get someone to like want to engage, right? It's like on social, when you see a video go by, if I'm just scrolling, that post doesn't get hit, but if it's captivating, if it's good, I'm going to stop. I get the engagement rate for that person. I would encourage you to look at your engagement rates of your emails first. I'm willing to bet that that's where the problem lies. And then you want to look at your content strategy, what you're saying, how you're saying it. I can't beat this point to death enough either. The look and feel of those emails is crucial. Your subject lines are going to come into play for open rates out of the gate, right? So 90% of people have the preview with the sidebar for all your emails there. You get fed what you click on. That doesn't hit in a couple seconds, your open rate's going to plummet, right? So we want engaging emails, we want them to look good, sound good. Fixing open rates, probably my least favorite thing, because it's kind of like, you kind of have to go down to like the roots and fix that to get that to perform better. That makes sense.
Yeah, so
Yep. Yes, sir.
Do you mind just expanding a little bit on like the personalized subject line?
Yeah.
Kind of like what that looks like.
So you can carve out a subject line where it's playing this tournament on X day or X, Y, and Z, right? Personalized subject line allows you to input first name. I would do first name. First name, last name seems super salesy. First name, hey, Micah, we have this great tournament coming up that you should be playing, right? Or X, Y, and Z, you can fill in the blanks there. It speaks more to me. It's got my name in it. I'm more willing to like, again, we're not talking drastic. It's just enough to get them to stop and be like, this is to me, I need to do this, right? So 95% of the systems that you guys leverage in this room, that's out of the box. It's already there. You just got to plug it in like the right spot. So take half a second longer, write that subject line, pop that place in. That's going to pull from your contact list. So if you've got first names for people in there, it's just going to merge it in. Out of the gate, that's going to help. Because now it's not the best tournament in town, it's like a play in the best tournament in town. I don't know, these are terrible names, but you get the gist.
And are you talking about specifically like in the subject line or like the first line of the email?
I would do subject line.
Is it something you should do on a continuing basis, or should you pick and choose?
Test it.
Pardon me?
Test it.
Test.
So everything I say here today is in a vacuum, right? I'm going to give you like averages.
Mm-hmm.
You've created a pattern with your audience that I don't know. So you can take these things, but you've got to test them to see, are they receptive to this? How receptive to this are they? And then do we keep doing it, right? Everything that I say here is not just copy and paste, go home and do beside the automations. And say that again. Everything else is take this as a guide and start using it and doing it, but you need to look at, are the people doing the things that I want them to do in this direction, or are they not responding to it? And then what do I do from there? We call it email day trading. It's not the 401k that sits there and builds. It's every day I'm in it saying, did this work or didn't this work? Because if I can make a couple numbers change, I can make that happen more frequently. Any other questions? All right. I want to flip the script, kind of turn the pyramid on its head in this next section. Just trying to flip a little bit. Then we'll do some Q&A at the end again. So, I'm a betting guy. Willing to bet that every organization in this room probably has under 20% of your total membership that plays competitively in your association. Probably go 10, probably go 5% for some of them, probably go 1% for some of them. My question, because this is advanced email marketing, question is, why are we talking to 20% of our membership like or to all of our membership like they're the 20% of our membership? That's the biggest thing I want to talk about today. Everything else that we talked about before is how it gets done, how it works, what happens. If I can ask one question, I would love to see a mind shift on this subject. If this were corporate America, and the CEO came down and said, we're servicing 2% of our clients, but we're not servicing the other 98%, how do we make that happen? It'd be chopping block day, right? Like I'd be gone. I'm out the door. I want everyone in this room to think about the comms. Again, we have the keys to the kingdom. We get to hit send. We can control that. We can dial it back. There's still a time and a place to talk to people about tournament-style golf. Whether it's 2%, 5% of our membership, I'm going to go down a tangent here. Our goal is to retain and grow. Are we doing a disservice to ourselves if we're talking to the 98 like the 2? That make sense? And if we, again, we're gonna take the gloves off here a little bit in the most loving way. There's probably not a lot of more competitive golfers in your states that you don't already own, right? You probably got them. There might be a handful out there, but they know who you are, they play competitively, they're probably in the door. How are we going to find the other golfers who are six degrees, like the upper deck guys? How are we going to find golfers like that if we're pounding the same message for tournament play on our emails and our comms? To me, it would feel alienating. I just came in the door. I'll give you a great example just to kind of set up the tone here. Come in the door, I sign up. I just bought my brand new set of Walter Hagen's from Dick's Sporting Goods, right? The second swing, the club head's flying off, right? It's bad. I'm pumped up though. Sign up for Southern Cal. I'm in the door, I get the welcome emails, I get everything else. And then it's kind of like, okay, great, like, I'm in, what am I doing now? I'm gonna start playing golf, I'm gonna start posting scores, right? All the emails I'm getting though are all 90% about tournaments, and I have zero interest in that because I can't get the ball off the tee half the time, right? Like it's just skirting across the ground. Or maybe I can, but I have zero interest in playing a competitive tournament. I just want to go out with the boys, with the girls, I want to have a good time, right? I'm not a competitive golfer on day one when I join the org. Sure, aspirationally, all of us in this room want to get someone to that point. We want to expose them to that and grow them to that member. But on Christmas morning, when I open that package, I'm not a competitive golfer on the first day, right? I'm a brand new guy that's trying to fix my swing. I'm paying $1,000 for clubs. I got lessons. I'm not trying to tee it up in a competition at all because when I play with my guys, I'm shit on the first tee, right? But if all of our comms are for tournament coverage, tournament-driven things, and here, do this, here's the best X, Y, and Z, here's the best golfers. Am I going to be retaining the membership I have that comes in the door with the emails I'm sending out? Because this is the direct way that we're talking to our members, right? We're not dialing for dollars and talking to people on the phone. Some of us are, but I'm not calling every member here. So I think this is one of the points I want to try to drive home today is everything we talk about on the front end of this is amazing. It's going to be hard. It's going to take some work. There's a lot there. But if you can do those building blocks and then you can pivot to this mindset, you're going to better talk to your tournament players, or you're going to talk to them in a way where it resonates with them. But we're not going to overexpose the new golfers to 90% of the comp stuff. And again, competitions are bread and butter. That's how you guys do this. But if we truly take on a growth mindset and truly say we want to grow and double, we have our competitive guys and girls. They're already there. How are we talking to the other percentage of people? That's where I'll go back now to the content plan. The content plan, your content calendar should have member, active, tournament style. All those comms are there. What's our golf lifestyle comms look like? What's the non-competitive play content calendar look like? How are we talking to these people to keep them? To Mary Beth's question, what's the bell curve on when I can keep someone and say that I'm good? If we do this, that's probably changing on a yearly basis, right? You got some luck and a little bit of skill in there that's keeping them, but I want the deck stacked. I want to know that they're in. I want to keep them without a question asked, right? How do we stack the deck? Just talk to them where they're at.
What do you think is the best argument for a board of directors that is always stacked with hardcore tournament?
That's above my pay grade. You can vote for me tomorrow night too, yeah.
You know, I mean, for us it's 17%. I looked at every person, I pulled all of our master rosters, compared them to our active membership, and 93% of our active members have never played.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, 80.
Yeah. It's pretty good with those numbers, right? Yeah. I don't have the answer for that. On the marketing side of the house, I think we have the ability to start that snowball, right? Because these are still our members. These are still people that are in our grasp. I would say start there doing the comms, because that makes the business case for the latter thing, right? Hey, we started to do this, here's how it's working out, here's how we need to support and grow this area. But this is where, again, I know I kind of went down like a rabbit hole here. If growth and retention are the biggest goals, as a marketing person, that's our benchmark, right? That's how we make it or break it. We've got to look at this really strong, really strong. Like we got to pay really close attention to this. Again, this is just my opinion. I don't have stats to back it up. This is just what I think. I've worked with many of you. I know the ins and outs. I think this is pretty close to spot on. What I want to do real quick too is talk about how we can make this happen. So there's 5 things. It's my TED talk for today. There's 5 things that we can do when we read here. It's not labeled on here. It's email automation, so we're just going to do it anyway. We're going to segment emails. Just think about the last slide. That's almost manual. It's just got to be done, right? We just got to do that out of the email. This might be high. This 50%, that might be high. But that's to the general, that's to the big blast, right? That's not saying across the board we're going to cut it. That's just saying when we send out big comms, I want to turn the eccentric stuff down a bunch so I can fill that in with the other stuff now, right? Tournament guys and girls are still going to get their stuff when they're on their list, but if I can make room for the other stuff, I'm actually going to drive my click-through and open rates up through the roof. Because it's more engaging content to your general audience. That's actually your bigger audience who are now more engaged and willing to act on those emails, right? Those are the first 2. The next 3. Gotta get some golf lifestyle stuff in the mix. So when you cut the 50% of the tournament stuff out of your general stuff, let's get golf lifestyle stuff back in there. I'm talking like golf travel. Best product on the market. And this doesn't have to be original stuff. We got GiA&x, we got Golf Digest, we got golf.com. They push this stuff out all the time. You can just lend a helping hand and grab it and bring it to your email, and in the future you're not reinventing the wheel or just pulling it and bringing it in there. Personalizing the emails is huge. We have an email writer that can do the dynamic content. That's also huge. The more dynamic you can get drives our click-through rates up quite a bit. Again, that's a little heavy on the corporate side. Dial that number down for you guys there, but we're talking if you're in HubSpot, you can tailor a content block and to someone based on what they do. Again, you go back to why it's so important to segment and know your audience. If I have a content block in my email that I can switch out based on the tag, I can turn the post that pops into that block. I have a golf lifestyle post that pops into that block. I can get really dangerous about having to do too much stuff because that block is going to pull a tag and import the stuff for that person there. The overall email, the overall email doesn't change, just certain parts of it do. This is huge. I think a lot of you guys do this third point here. I'm just going to throw out on a quarterly basis. Let's just ask people what they want more, right? We started doing these golf equipment reviews or a top list. Do you want more of that? Do you like that? Candidly, I think if we were to if each of you owns golf in your own state or respective area, you know the good courses, you know the cool courses, you know the courses that have the best rates. That's content that people have 500,000 followers on Instagram for that make a lot more money than a lot of us in this room do. And they're just pumping out stuff that's already out there, right? Golf travel is huge right now. It's up like 60%, I think, year to date over last year. Stupid. One other thing I want to hit on here, though, too, under this survey area, NGF just came out with a report, I think it was last month. Your largest demographic group in golf just became the 18 to 34 year old. You surpassed all the other demographic groups. 18 to 34. So if we're going to stick with traditional methods, that time's already come, right? Our core members, they're sunsetting, that's all the nicest term, right? We gotta get the new people in, and they're getting hit with stuff like this on a daily, weekly basis. How do we mimic that content so we're in the mix now, right? So that's my TED Talk for today. Those are the 5 points I want you guys to all think about. Just remember, email automations, it's got to be done. It's got to be done immediately. I'll pause for some more questions and feedback on that. Sir.
Say 2 things on this slide. So that first point, all lifestyle travel, we actually created a branded content block that we use as revenue driver.
Yep.
It's titled SCG Destinations, and we sell it as travel, and it's just 3 image, 35 words of copy and link. It gives us content, but it's the way for everybody to satisfy that. It's 2, yeah. And then that last point, so we do kind of the same thing. You can see what people are engaging with, what they're not, and then we use that guide.
You just need the actual data points, right? If you can get it from there, awesome. If you can't, just ask. That's like, this is like the most simple way to do it, right? If you can get that report, done. Anything else?
Talk to, if the 34-year-olds are much more social media, should there be a conscious plan to how to drive them to read emails? Is that what you're saying?
No. 18 to 34-year-olds. The reason I brought that point up is that's like your digital native age group, right? They're just in it.
Yeah.
If we're talking email tactics as a whole, if we're lagging that biggest group of golfers, we don't resonate, right? Because what we're doing might seem old or dated or not hit with them. So I think it's very important to be dialed in with what they're looking for and how they're talking and how they're being sent emails. Because we need to mimic that now, right? We got to raise our standard to better address that market.
Should we be tailoring our emails to be also, broadcast via social media?
No, social media's purpose is to create awareness for your brand. That's it. Top of the funnel. I used to be a VP of sales. Social media is your dial for dollars. They're just making cold calls. You just got to create awareness there. You got to drive them to get to your site, and then your site converts to an email. And once someone gets there, then it's our job to bring that into the fold, right? Anything else? It's been a pleasure. Thank you all. Sorry I was so long.